Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast, episode 71. I'm Adam Miller, and I am here with Jaren Wilt each and every week, where we are going to be bringing you the news and notes on all 11 Division I schools in the state of Indiana, because in 49 states,
it's just basketball. And to prove that it's just basketball, there's a reason that we are here now today still. And by today, I mean Sunday for all of our audio listeners who aren't watching us live. But presently is I think the second half of the Super Bowl is starting or has started. I don't know, because it's not related to college basketball.
Yeah, we don't even, to be honest, we don't even have it on the extra screen here. We don't even have it up. So we watched the halftime show, had a great time, watched that together, had a great time, and then now we're here.
Yeah, we are here.
Might have some dogs in the background.
Yeah, my dogs are going crazy, but so it's okay. They're just excited that we are here live with you. They're probably in the other room watching. I don't know what dogs do. What's that movie? Is there a movie about that? About like the secret life of
pets?
Pets? Yeah, that's probably a Secret Life of Pets situation where they're just excited.
They'd comment if they had thumbs.
Yeah, pretty much.
But let's get into it. You're here for basketball content, so basketball content we shall bring you, and we always start our basketball content off with our power rankings.
Those power rankings, which are brought to you by Crow's Nest Coffee. You get 15% off every order using promo code TSOB. And it got cold. We hit a cold front here in Indiana again this week. And there's nothing better after a cold front than waking up the next morning cold. You don't want to get out of bed. When you've got Crow's Nest Coffee brewing, it really gives you that oomph to get out of bed, because then you can pour a cup.
Right.
It warms you inside. It warms you outside. It makes you happy. It makes us happy.
And it's good quality, and I've been getting a lot of use out of my grinder. You can get the beans pre-ground. I choose not to. It probably doesn't make any difference in the capacity that I use them, because I drink it very quickly. But you can get it pre-ground or, whole beans, whatever your preference is, if you want to grind it yourself. I've been grinding it myself.
There's nothing more satisfying than like pouring the beans in the little grinder and pushing down on it, or however the grinder's set up.
What I hate is sometimes when I make coffee and then I have a pour over.
Yep.
And so
bougie.
Then I see like if I see a whole bean in there, I get so mad.
Yep.
Like how did I not see this when I was like scooping it at all, Whole bean snuck in there. But let's talk about our power rankings, Jaren. Run through ours bottom to top, I guess. Top to bottom. I don't even remember how you do them this year.
I started at 11.
Okay.
Started at 11. And at 11 is IU Indianapolis. They are just looking to get back on the right side of the win column. Weren't able to do it this past week. And just above them is a team that's also looking to get back on the win column after dropping their last 3 at home. Southern Indiana. Valpo is 9. They did move back 1 spot. They dropped a couple games this week. Absolute heartbreakers for them. But then moving up is Ball State at 8. They had a big non-conference win in February.
I just love that they play that in the MAC. I wish more teams had that. Like the bracket busters that used to exist. Not the mid-major content we get now on Twitter, but the bracket busters. It was all so fun, just having like a little break in the
conference schedule.
Yeah.
And then at 7 is Evansville, who moved back 1 spot after taking a couple tough losses. And then moving up is Indiana State. They got a win, had a really close game against Drake, where they ended up losing in overtime. We will talk about that here shortly. Then moving back a spot, 5 is Notre Dame. They're just at a tough spell in the season right now. Moving up is Butler. Their first 2-win week in what feels like weeks.
Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I know. That's why I said it. And holding strong in the top 3 are Purdue Fort Wayne at 3, Indiana at 2, and then number 1 is Purdue.
Yeah, we talked about last week, or at least I mentioned the possibility of Purdue Fort Wayne surpassing Indiana. I mean, it's still on the table, but Purdue Fort Wayne like had a good week, but they didn't like. I mean, they played Green Bay. It doesn't really move the needle.
Yeah.
IU competed against Michigan, didn't compete against Wisconsin. I don't know.
Yeah.
Eventually it'll happen.
Yeah, I think it just boils
probably.
down to right now we're weighing the full body of work, and I think Indiana. You know, when you look at that, the head-to-head of Purdue Fort Wayne and against Michigan, and then Indiana against Michigan, Indiana played much closer.
Right.
And they have picked up, snuck through, a couple big time wins in the conference. But obviously, like you said, you know, there's inherently Indiana is playing better competition than Purdue Fort Wayne. Purdue Fort Wayne can't really control. Well, I guess they could control what conference they're in and who they play. But so that's it's a very lopsided scale, so it's hard for us to weigh. But we just kind of settled on Indiana staying above them.
Yeah, for now. We'll reevaluate
Yeah,
next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about Ball State.
Yeah, let's start
Get
with the
into
Cards. You were there this week, so we'll talk about that. But they went up this week from last week, 262 last week up to 252 this week. That brings them. They had a 1-1 week, 11-12 overall, and 4-6 in the MAC. They lost at Akron, 81-73. Akron is still undefeated, and then they won against Southern Miss, who is not in the MAC. They are in the Sun Belt. They beat them 77-76, and that's a meaningful one because it's the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, and they were matched up because they were supposed to be like
comparable in terms of
like
their records.
Yeah, comparable resumes, and you know, teams as closely matched up as they could be. So that was, you know, a meaningful win in my mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun fact: Akron, it has I was going to say it later, but they have the longest current active win streak in men's college basketball at 11 games.
Is it? Yeah,
I think it's 11. You're 11. Thinking of Purdue Fort Wayne women that were at 14 last week.
That's right.
But at least I think it's 11. I'm pretty sure it's 11.
Well, yeah, because they won all their MAC games, and then they won their MAC Sun Belt Challenge game. At least 11.
Yeah. Yep. So obviously that game was going to be tough for the Cards. They played close. I was impressed by how they played. You know,
the Akron game.
Yeah, in the Akron game. I was definitely impressed in how they played in the Southern Miss game. That Southern Miss game. I'm just gonna start talking about the trip.
Go for it.
First off, weather was atrocious. It started raining once I got there. Luckily, the drive down wasn't bad. It started raining when I got there. It was cold. And obviously, we were getting like an ice storm in Fort Wayne, so coming back was not pleasant. But got down there. I had about an hour to kill. Obviously, I went and drove around campus and brought back the memories. Went into the team shop though. Bought a couple things. Needed a new hoodie because my previous one shrank. And by shrank, I mean I grew. I'm a grown boy. I'm a grown boy. I think both kind of happened simultaneously, but also bought a beanie. But I like beanies, you know, keeps the head warm.
Like a beanie or a winter hat?
What's the difference?
In my mind, beanies are like thinner, or in like winter hats sometimes like have the fold over.
Yeah, it was one with the fold over.
Okay.
Yeah. Stocking
cap.
Stocking cap is probably the best way to. Yeah.
Does it have the ball on top?
No, it does not have the ball. They didn't have any that I liked with the ball, or else I would have gotten it. Put it on after the game. Does not fit. It says one size fits most.
You
Apparently,
didn't put it on before?
No, I didn't think about it. It just looked like a standard sized stocking
Apparently,
cap.
you know what, Jaren? You're unique. You're not most.
Yeah, I'm not most.
You're not. You're one of one.
But I'm sitting there, like, it's squeezing my head.
Uh-huh.
I'm sitting there trying to like stretch it a little bit. I put it on my head. I was like, maybe over time it'll stretch out.
Did you go return it?
No, because I had ripped the tag off, and I didn't put it on until I was like on the road home. I was like, I'm not turning around at this point.
That's brutal.
So that's an L. I'm gonna continue to try and stretch it out. But game was great. Had a wonderful experience. I got to meet their assistant director of like communications. That's over the basketball program.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he came up to the media section, introduced himself, showed me around, took me to the media room. They had a full spread of pizza.
Did they?
Yeah. Several pizzas. They had some grinders and some sausage rolls.
I'm so crow's nest coffee pilled. I thought you were talking about coffee grinders. I was like, that's kind of cool. They let you grind your own beans, make your own coffee. That's like fancy, man.
No. Grinders as in the food.
Yeah.
So, grabbed a piece of sausage pizza, went up to my seat, went there, turned on some basketball while I was waiting. Did not realize till the starting lineup of Southern Miss, Andre Curbelo is there.
Did he go straight there after Illinois?
No, he went to St. John's.
That's right.
And then Patino got hired
and, it was like,
and pretty much said, get out. At least I imagine that's how that conversation went.
Well, he said he was going to clear house. So
yeah, and he did. Curbelo, apparently, I was like, this dude must, I think it's trash because he played like trash during the game.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently he averages like 14 a game.
He's just an anomaly.
He almost had a double-double in the first half. Rebounds, assists. He was like 5 assists, 7 rebounds, or
my God,
or the other way around. Did not have a single point the entire game. Yeah, he didn't score. He got a steal.
A true point guard.
Yeah, he had a steal, fast break to the rim, went up to dunk, went down, bounced off the backside of the rim, bounced out.
The Andre Curbelo experience.
Absolutely bricked a free throw. Like, it was. Like, it just went off the side of the rim. Looked like me shooting free throws. At one point, I think I texted you this. Ball State's driving. It wasn't an inbounds play. I think it was a rebound that turned into a kind of a transition situation. Jerry had the ball.
Yeah.
He was driving. Andre did the biggest, he did like a jump stop. Hands in front of him.
To take a charge.
Ready to take a charge. And Jerry just went around him, laid it up. Wasn't even in the driving lane.
That's hilarious.
And I was just like, okay, this is the Andre Curbelo experience to a T. Ethan Britton Watts had a beautiful Curry range 3 to go into halftime. It was pretty sick. And it was wet. No rim, just pure money. I don't even think the net moved. Then they played out. They came out and played tough.
Yeah, vibes were good
in the second half.
Peyton Sparks didn't miss a free throw. So, that's how you know vibes were good.
He was getting mad during pregame warmups. He was shooting free throws, and obviously the perimeter shooters were out there shooting their threes. He was getting mad when people were shooting their threes while he was trying to shoot free throws because it was knocking the ball from actually going in. A couple times he looked at Ben Hendricks and Zane Doty, who were on the blocks rebounding for him, and said something to him come on, guys.
Respect it.
Students and fans got free tater tots at a local restaurant because
two missed
free throws.
Did you go collect yours?
No. It was the loudest Worthen was all day though. Naturally.
That's how every arena should be. But
it was a good time. Went to post game. Got to hear Mickey, Peyton, and Coach Lewis talk. Coach Lewis was a little under the weather, so he most certainly did not want to be there.
Yeah.
He was like, let's just get this started and get out of here.
Yeah, don't blame him.
But
Mickey,
cool. Mickey, 1,000th career point,
500 rebounds,
500
same
rebounds.
Game.
Yeah,
same game, man.
His
same game is crazy.
Yeah, I was couple little tidbits about that. When Peyton and Mickey were the first ones into the post game press conference, they were just sitting there chopping it up, talking. And Peyton looks at Mickey and is like, 1,000 careers, atta boy, or 1,000 points, atta boy. And Mickey's just the most humble, soft-spoken guy. He's like, it's not, I got nothing compared to you, kind of thing. I'm not even close to you. Which you just love to see that. That's kind of the relationship that they have,
and that's the kind of guy that he is for sure.
Guy Mickey is. And then I was standing in the stands, after the game. Family members and friends of the players were kind of waiting around for them to come out of the locker room, and several parents, I presume, talked to Mickey when he came out. Mickey was walking up to meet with his dad and mom. I was like, your dad said you can get whatever you want for dinner. They're going to get dinner. He's like, no burgers. Get whatever you want on the menu. This is some random other
parent.
Parent.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to see.
That's
and then
fun.
all the fans that were like on the concourse still like cheered for him, like congratulated him when he walked out. That was
Did they announce it during the game?
yeah. So after
Okay.
after the bucket, a couple plays went by, and then there was like a dead ball, and they announced that was his 1000th career point.
Nice.
So
good for him, man.
Yeah. It was a
Happy
great.
for him. He's the guy who deserves it.
For sure. He's worked hard over the last 4 years at Ball State. Definitely deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
Both Peyton and Mickey got a little beat up though. At one point, Mickey was kind of limping on the court. I was a little worried. He had ice on his knees, like taped around his knees when he left, and Peyton had like a bandage wrapped around his like bicep because he got cut from like a fingernail or something.
For Bellows' nail.
Jerry had a sick like. He went up to the rim. He didn't have very many points, but he did a lot on both sides. Had like a steal and a breakaway. Went up to dunk it. He went up like it like looked like he dropped the ball or like got knocked out of his hand. He had to like grab it real quick, or he just like double clutched and went up and like
I'm gonna say he double clutched it.
Didn't quite dunk it. He kind of just dropped it in.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because he had a defender on him, and then obviously Mickey and Jerry Mickey and Peyton were talking about that too, like before the press conference started. They just love to see the camaraderie that they all have.
Yeah, good tight knit group.
Yep,
good. Well, I'm glad you got to go back to your alma mater. I couldn't make the trip, but I'm glad that you got to.
I'm 1-0 in Worthing this year, so I was asked to come back by our friend Mick Tidrow. It was he did the ESPN Plus broadcast, but he is their like director of.
I am
broadcasting.
0-2, so
that's true.
They probably won't be asking, so it's probably a good thing I didn't go.
Yeah, probably.
Let's talk about Butler because they were 2-0 this week, so they went up in Torvik from 83 to 75. They went 2-0 this week, like I said. They're 11-13 overall, and that brings them to 4-9 in the Big East. So they won at Seton Hall. Big time, 84-54, and then they won at Providence or at home against Providence, 82-81, and that one was scary because I didn't think that it was going to. I thought that Butler was going to get Butlered.
Yep.
Think how they have just give it away. Like the Marquette game, they played really hard for the first half, and then the second half happens, and kind of the tale of two halves.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen though. Like they held on.
Until the very end.
Yeah, thank God, dude. Thank God.
Yeah.
You can't drop that one. I mean, obviously, like they're not in tournament contention right now by any means, but like you just can't lose that one. You can't lose to Providence, especially at home. But they went like Providence in the Providence game. Providence was like 15, went on like a 15-2 run and was just hitting everything. They hit 16 threes, which is just absurd. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just glad they held on.
500th career rebound as well.
Dude, this is a huge week for milestones.
Yeah.
500 rebounds for two people, multiple people, 1,000-point scorers.
Yep. Didn't realize this. Butler's 7-0 when they score at least 80 points.
They should try and do that more.
Yeah. They're also 7-1 if they score 80 plus. Or no, sorry, when they shoot 50% or better from the field. So shoot the ball well, score 80 points. They're probably gonna win a game.
Seton Hall, I mean, good. All the stars were in double figures. Like it was a good game. Finley Bizjack was just great. 4 of 6 from 3. Like I think all his points came from 3. But
shooter.
Yeah, him having the ability to shoot is gonna help that offense so much. But dude, here's a fact about Seton Hall. Seton Hall like might be. I don't know if they're worse than Louisville from last year.
They might be.
I think they're better than DePaul from last year.
But
I think they might be worse than Louisville from last year. Yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
But they started the season at 90th in Torvik. They're 230th right now. That is apparently they just like don't give the basketball program any money. Like
didn't realize
Shaheen,
that.
I didn't either. People were talking about Shaheen just has like no money, no NIL, just like nothing.
You know a team that does have NIL and would probably love to have Shaheen? Talk about that later.
Why? Because he's 1-0.
Yeah.
The other thing about Butler is Augusto Cassia. Augusto Cassia. Doesn't matter now.
That's true.
He left the team.
Yeah, I saw a quote today about, or I think it was posted yesterday before the game, I believe. But I saw it today, and apparently, like, Mata was asked about it, and this is what he said. He said he was done. I don't know who advised him or whatever. I love Augusto. I'll do whatever I can to help him at his next spot. It was an odd one to me. So, kind of weird.
Seems like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, because like Augusto was starting.
Yeah.
And playing well. It's like and I'm not gonna say here to speculate, but like it's just if it's odd to Mata, like that's.
It was odd to me. It shouldn't be as odd to me as it is to the head coach. You know what I mean? Like it should be more odd to me than it is to the head coach. Yeah. But like it seemed like we were both just baffled.
I think everyone is, except for Augusto and his camp.
Yeah. So that stinks, but yeah, it's not like he was playing and now they have to play without him. Like they were already playing without him. I don't know.
Yeah, he's hurt.
I don't know what his timeline of coming back was. If he was going to come back. But he's don't have to worry about that now.
Yeah. Evansville.
Yeah.
They moved down in Torvik. They are 253. Last week they were 245. They did go 0-2 this week. They're 9-16 overall and 6-8 in the Valley. They lost to Southern Illinois 68-59, and then they lost to Bradley 80-74. Cam Hafner still not playing.
Yeah, that stinks.
Definitely would have likely made a big impact on the outcomes of these two games.
Probably could have won them both if you're full strength.
I imagine so. But Comer doing Comer things. Scored 25 and like 20, I think, in those two games. Yeah. Didn't realize this. I was just curious. I was looking at numbers, right? 'Cause to me, is like Comer's been popping off lately, right? Like it's just constant back-to-back 20-point weeks. So he scored 390 points so far this season, right? Respectable number. They've played 12 games since New Year's,
and they've played
13 games before then.
And they have 25 total. Yeah.
So, since New Year's, he scored 243 points.
Okay.
Which means there's 147 points that were scored before that. He scored 100 more points in one less game since New Year's.
Dude, Pizzato went out.
But like he wasn't out for all of those games.
It gave him time to be like, all right, here's what I can do.
That's
show him what he can do, and he's been rolling with it.
Yeah, but that's pretty freaking impressive.
This team has dudes and they play hard, but like they would be, if this team never got down by 20 and a half, they'd be like 19-6. Like
damn near.
they get down by 20 and then it's like this insane Herculean effort and they come back and then it's like they're like, all right, now we're within 2 or 4 and then they just lose. And it's like you would be in better shape if you just didn't get down by 20 in every single game you play in the first half.
Yeah.
So once they figure that out, I mean, they're going to be dangerous. Like this is absolutely going to be a team, you know, no matter like what kind of deficit that they get into because of guys like Pizzato and, you know, Hafner when he's back and Comer that just like can kill you and can ruin your chances in Arch Madness.
Yeah, they're going to give you a tough time for sure.
Yeah, so if they can just not get down by 20, they can beat anybody. they can beat anybody. Like
yeah.
Bradley, I mean, it's a tough out, but you know, we saw them beat Belmont. We saw them almost beat Belmont at home. So like they can beat anybody. They can, you know, they can take down Drake if they need to.
Yeah.
Because they've got the scoring ability between a couple people.
They played tough defense.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you look at their games, a lot of the games that they've played and even lost, like teams aren't scoring a lot of points.
Yeah,
They're just scoring more than Evansville. It's just what it boils down to.
Cold. They just go cold.
Yeah.
They just go cold.
Or they have to, and they have to, fight from being back so much.
Yeah.
Or being down so much.
And then, it takes so much to claw back, and then just like getting that extra to win is coming back from the 20-point deficit to get it to like 4 is like as hard as getting it from a 4-point deficit afterwards is like, it's like those 16 points twice, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you get it within 4, it's like, okay, then you have to do that again to go up 1 is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And they just can't do that.
Yep. Let's go to IU. They did move down in Torvik. They're 68 from 59. They did go 0-2 this week. They're 14-10 overall and 5-8 in the Big Ten. They lost at Wisconsin, 76-64, which is much closer than I think a lot of people thought it was going to be. And then they lost to Michigan, 70-67. Shout out Anthony Leal for screwing over a bunch of people.
That was so
their
funny.
bets. So Michigan was 3.5-point favorites. They were up 6. Then Anthony Leal hit a 3-quarter shot literally at the buzzer to make it 3 points. So he does not care about your bets. But also, I think he hasn't missed a shot from half court or further this season.
He's the guy that if I was on, no matter what team I'm on, I would want him. No matter what player I could pick, I'd probably want him shooting a 3-quarter shot at the end of the game.
Yeah.
He's just got a gift at it for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, he practices shots from the tunnel, shots from the bleachers.
But so does everyone,
That's true.
Most teams are doing that, end of practice or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he didn't miss a 3, and that was one of them.
Yeah,
went 3 for 3, and that was one of them.
Dude's a dog.
Yeah, the Wisconsin game. Before we talk about the bigger Indiana stuff at large here, the Wisconsin game, they played it in the Kohl Center. I mean, that's just, they haven't won there since '98. We would have been 2 because we wouldn't have turned 3 yet. But we were 2 years old the last time.
Or was it spring '98 or fall '98?
I would imagine it would have been after Christmas because it's a conference game.
Good point.
So
good point.
They, haven't won there since we were 2 years old. We are almost 30. So they were down like 26-4 or 24-4. And those are my notes on that. We were watching it together, and I wish we weren't. I wish we weren't watching it when it was on. But you want to talk about we got to talk about Indiana. If we're talking about the team, we have to talk about the story. The only story around Indiana is that Mike Woodson officially on Friday, they announced that Mike Woodson would not be returning next year. And this was after that was on Friday, right?
Yes.
And then on Thursday, there was rumors. This is when On3 came out with the Ponder graphic that Thursday was or maybe it was Wednesday. It was one of those days. It was before the Friday announcement, a day or two before, and they were like, yeah, he's thinking about stepping down at the end of the season, thinking about retiring, and everyone was like, this isn't news. This is not news.
Yeah.
And then on Friday they made the official announcement, and I think it's
it was Thursday night because I was at baseball practice.
Yeah, and you're like, what is this? Let me tell you.
Yeah, it was Thursday night. But all Thursday morning and Wednesday, I think, is kind of what the timelines are.
Yeah.
But it was just all day. It was just smoke.
Yeah, there's going to be an announcement. There's going to be an announcement all day is what you were hearing. And then there was not really an announcement because I think it originally came out from Jeff Goodman. That was he's pondering retirement or something, was the first person that I saw
someone made a fake
Osterman
tweet
yeah
on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And then that's what kind of spiraled everyone into doomsday DEF CON type situation. But I think that they had to do it. They had to make an announcement before Dusty May was going to be in town.
I think it was purposeful. I
Yeah.
think their intention was to get it out before Dusty May and Michigan came.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was their intention with the whole thing.
So it would have gotten real awkward, I think, with the fan base had it not been announced.
I think it would have been, yeah, I think that's part of the reason. But I also think he's probably one of their top 2 targets.
He's top 5 for sure.
I think he's top 2.
Maybe.
And we'll talk about it in a second because we need to talk about whatever. Like, Woodson didn't do any posts. So, like, they lose the game.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, the environment was better. Like, people were cheering. I think they felt, you know, now that, like, it's announced,
there is a sense of closure.
Yeah, that it gave fans something to, I don't know, rally behind. Maybe it was Dusty May on the other sideline, but
only time will tell.
Yeah, it gave them something to, like, be excited about. And then Woodson, here's what's interesting to me is Woodson said he wasn't going to talk about it. He wasn't going to talk about the news in the post game. Like, he wasn't going to answer any questions. No questions were going to be asked. I don't think he joined Don afterwards on the radio.
I know Walsh did.
And then no players are made available.
Yep.
Afterwards.
Makes sense. I think that's like just to protect the players.
But why?
Because in my opinion, like, knowing what I know about just like how media works, is people are going to ask about that, and it puts players in a real uncomfortable situation. To then, like, have to talk about it.
I think it's ridiculous. I think it's a ridiculous move because you made the announcement. Like,
yeah.
Do you not want to say something about it? What that says to me is that Mike Woodson is not choosing to retire. What this says to me is that Mike Woodson is being forced out, and he's not happy about it. And that's why he's not going to talk about it. If Mike Woodson was choosing to retire and had approached Dolson in his office, why would he not address that in the media after the game?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of emotion. I do think whether it was him deciding to retire or him being forced to leave or / retire. I mean, I think it would be emotional. It would just be still like, you know, maybe you're just trying to gather your thoughts because it's still kind of a fresh wound. But I mean, scholarship players they did not get out to warmups. Like, they were late to getting out to pregame warmups. Like, the non-scholarship players were the first ones out on the court and warmed up for a decent amount. So, like, that tells to me is like, okay, well, you know, maybe there's a lot of emotion behind it because, you know, obviously players see what people say in post. And, like, it's such a touchy subject because I do feel that players believe in Mike Woodson to a degree. Did that just splatter on you? But again, I don't know. Like, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not, you know, behind the scenes. So I don't know.
I just think it was handled horribly because
overall,
if you're going to make the announcement and you're saying he is deciding to retire, then he's gonna. You owe the fan base something. You owe the fan base answers.
Yeah.
About it. Are they gonna say that again next time?
I mean, I think, at least if I was, you know, in that position, I mean, I think with especially with Dusty May being in town also has an impact because knowing what we know about media personalities in general, like, someone's going to take what something said and twist it and make some column that's just absolutely egregious. But
that's why you want to answer things, because now we have what we have now is what you want to have things be said so that now it's not like, oh, he's mad. Like, I'm saying I think this tells me he is being forced out. Whereas he could have said, like, you know, yeah, I chose to retire, or oh, or he could just say, I'm not going to answer questions about that. But like putting a press release out from Scott Dolson, like that just tells me that it's not probably a happy situation, and it's not probably good. And I think that it was not handled well. And
oh yeah, I'm not refuting it. It was not.
Dusty
well
May answered questions about it.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Indiana's head coach is not coming back, and they won't take any questions about it. But Michigan's head coach will, who is on, according to everyone, probably going to be involved. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So he's not coming back. Woodson's not coming back. So now we need to talk about who is going to be replacing him, because there's been a lot of names thrown out. Obviously, there always are.
Names.
Dusty May obviously would have taken the Indiana job over the Michigan job last year 100%. It just wasn't open. Whether you believe what the people say, that like Quinn Buckner on the board wouldn't agree and didn't want to fire Woodson, wanted to give him another year, and that's why they couldn't do it, and that Dolson wanted him gone, or whether they just actually wanted to give him another year, who's to say? But Dusty ends up going to Michigan, and then he gets asked, basically like, would you be interested? People are bringing your name up, and he's like,
he loves being at Michigan. He loves being at Michigan.
Yeah, he gave the media answer. Like, he didn't say yes, and he didn't say yes, he wants to be considered, and he didn't say no, he's going to stay at Michigan. Like, no, I'm going to stay at Michigan. He didn't say either, which is the right thing to say.
Yeah, I also know, I saw a lot of tweets about that. People are like, yeah, that's the exact answer that agents want you to say, because agents are going to use that as leverage to either get a fat pay raise at your extension at your existing job, no. Or they're gonna, they're already having those conversations. Well, I don't know how that works. I don't know, like,
bro, his agents already what?
Can agents like start having those conversations now?
Agents can take conversations whenever they want.
That's true.
They can do that whenever they want.
There's no rules for them.
So, and like obviously Dusty May's not allowed to talk to Indiana, probably based, during the season, or shouldn't, but like his agent he can tell his agent what to say. But he said, they asked a follow-up question like, so will you be back at Michigan next year? And he said, like, there's no answer I can give that will satisfy anyone, basically.
Yeah. Which
again is the right thing to say, but also, like he said, there's nothing I can say. I mean, there's something more you could say. You could just say, yes, I will be back at Michigan next year. Like he could have said that.
Yeah.
And obviously this is,
then the agent can't get him a raise and an extension at Michigan.
Yeah, this is reading into the tea leaves and being like
I feel like I heard that he doesn't have a buyout. I don't think he's got a buyout at Michigan.
I don't think that can be real.
That's what a Michigan fan told me. That it was like some experiment with not having a buyout.
That would be very stupid. He also has an $18 million buyout.
Okay.
Wait, hang on. Yeah, that was CBS Sports. Maybe that's it. Wait, hang on. I'm scrolling the article.
I've got a Detroit News article.
Someone has an $18 million buyout, and I don't. Oh, Nate Oates has an $18 million buyout. I think, okay.
It doesn't say. Like, there's an article that breaks down his contract.
It'd be interesting. So now let's talk about candidates then, because obviously Dusty May is a candidate. In our eyes.
It starts at $5 million and decreases each of the next 4 years.
So here's the thing: if Mike Woodson steps down, you don't have to pay his buy. If you get him to step down, like do the thing for Indiana, step down, they don't have to pay his buyout.
Correct.
That for I think regardless, I think the boosters would be in a position where they are going to pay the buyout for him and for the next coach, no problem. But I mean, that saves you to spend more money on the buyout. So I think, if you're talking about Indiana search, obviously, if you're Scott Dolson this time, again, even though he allegedly told you no, definitively last
But
time.
Dolson wasn't involved last time. It was still Fred Glass last time.
No, it was Dolson.
I don't think Dolson was. I don't think he was involved.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure he did. He's a 5th year. He 2020. So he was. Yes, people say he didn't get to choose because the people say that
Okay.
Quinn Buckner and the board chose.
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking of.
So yeah, he was, and he made the hire. But if you're Scott Dolson, obviously every single time Indiana opens, they're gonna say you have to do this move, and you do have to make this move. You have to once again make Brad Stevens tell you no. Every time it's open, you have to make him tell you no. It doesn't matter because, the timing has never worked. It probably won't work now. I would say it is unlikely, but not impossible.
But listen to this: his kids are graduating high school and have graduated. I think he's got a son that's a freshman at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he does.
He's from Zionsville. He's from Indiana. All of his family's from there.
He wants to be in Indiana.
The Celtics are going under. They're exchanging owners. There's new ownership in play. He did an interview where he said he misses coaching. Like, I think if any time is the time it happens, it's now. But
it won't be later because I think now that from his point of view, I think now if you're looking at it like this, like last time, he probably felt like this is my last time.
Mm-hmm.
But then they hired like Mike Woodson, who obviously didn't have forever.
Yeah.
But now you have to look at it as, if you're him, like, this might actually be my last time that this job is offered to me ever. Because
they're going to hire someone younger.
They're probably going to go, like, just say they're going to try and hire someone that's going to be there for 20 years, I think, is their thing. I think they're going to try and get someone that's going to be there for 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that they're targeting Dusty May, is because Dusty May can just never leave.
Right.
So Brad Stevens will be retired by that point. Like, in 20 years, Brad Stevens, I would almost guarantee, will be retired and living in Indiana somewhere, if not the Butler head coach. Like, at that point, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
So, like, this might legitimately be the last time that it is ever offered to him. I probably wouldn't leave my job as GM of the Celtics, but I also didn't grow up having the dream of being the Indiana head coach.
Yeah.
So I think that, no matter what amount of, like, if Indiana's serious about him, literally make him the highest paid coach in college basketball.
Yeah.
Like, do not make money even a question. Find out how much he makes, double it. I don't care. If you're Indiana, literally make an offer he cannot refuse. So I think that's obviously where it starts. I think it's very, 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 very unlikely, but it is not impossible. To say it's impossible is ludicrous. I think he's not impossible. He's unlikely. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think they're going to get Brad Stevens, but you have to start there, of course. And then I think, in my mind, I think it's Dusty May is the number 2.
I can believe it.
And that's just because I think that, like, Dolson hired Sig. It went incredibly well. So he could pick, like a proven winner. He could pick a.
People are throwing around like Ben McCollum.
Yeah.
Who's won 4 national champions at the D2 level.
Right.
And then is now coaching phenomenally.
Yeah. It's a 2-loss Drake team
with much fewer resources and much worse talent than you'd be able to recruit to Indiana.
Right.
And there's a guy like that.
There's, if you're talking about if you're looking for guys that are going to be there for a long time, if you can persuade TJ Otzelberger to,
he's a Midwest guy,
leave Iowa State, that's a heavy buyout, but like, that's a guy that I think that they should target heavily. And I think that, when you're talking about guys that have Indiana ties, you're going to talk about Bruce Pearl. I think and he's just going to say no. I don't know. I don't know why he would leave what he has at Auburn.
I
I wouldn't. I mean, like
no.
he coached in Indiana, sure, but he can live. He and Scott Drew, for the same reason, I think they're both going to stay there where they are and not come to Indiana if they're offered. I think Scott Drew would be more likely to take Indiana than Bruce Pearl, but I think that they're both just not going to happen and wouldn't actually take it. So I don't think that they're like super serious candidates. Other person, Brad Brownell, I could see, but I'm not too convinced on that just because he's an Indiana guy. He's doing fine at Clemson. I wouldn't mess with that if I was him. And so I think that like top two for me, if I'm Indiana, what I think Indiana's targeting is Brad Stevens 1, Dusty May 2, and then I don't know who I would put 3, but I would say that it probably stops. Like I think if they're going down the list where whoever's next, they don't get past Chris Beard. Because I think Chris Beard will say yes.
If he's offered.
I think he will say yes. I just don't know where he is on the list.
Yeah, and I don't know if he would. Like again, yeah. I don't know where he's at on the list, and I don't know if they would go up, reach out to him. It's gonna be interesting. There's a lot of names that people throw around that like every now and again I'll hear a name that intrigues me, like Greg McDermott. Again, he's 60,
right?
So he's older. Mark Few has been mentioned, right? He's 62,
right?
Older. Like you
could get those. Like I don't want to say you could get those guys because I think both of those people would be very, very, very hard to pull away from where they are. But your basically draw to them is we'd give you more money. You'd have unlimited NIL. Do what you're doing here. Just do it in Bloomington. Yeah, and that that could be enticing.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see. I think this is like the fact that they were talking about it on CBS, obviously during the broadcast, but this will be the most talked about, in my opinion, coaching search in a long time. Because of Indiana being who they are, what they are.
And you and I talked about it. There will be like if the hire that they get is the hire that works, like that person is a savior.
They'll be a legend forever.
Yeah,
because they turned around Indiana.
Yeah, that's enticing, and that's why you could see like Scott Drew being interested in it because he's fixed something worse. And he had, he obviously from Valpo, so like has that tie.
Mark Few's been searching for a national championship,
right?
And like has gotten so close.
And like looking out things are going in the WCC right now, not great.
Yeah, it's like that could be enticing there because I some people don't think he is, but I think he's a top 25 coach in basketball.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting. Like I said, McDermott just knows how to coach. His offense is always electric, and the things he'd be able to do at Indiana, great.
The thing is, we just don't.
Pitino.
Yeah. If Pitino came to Indiana, I have always heard that he wouldn't coach in the Big Ten because they fired Richard.
Richard is a name that I've heard.
That would be crazy.
I've heard Richard Pitino.
I don't know how you can see how. Well, I guess it's because he was at Minnesota, and Minnesota is just a tough job.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you could get Pitino, you get Pitino because
he's 72 though.
Yeah, he's 72. But he's a young 72. You get Pitino.
Yeah.
See, then you get Pitino, and then he's not there for very long, but he wins national championship. Now, what is Brad Stevens? He's gonna be the guy who comes in after a national championship. When the Celtics start to stink.
Yeah.
Obviously, like none of these names are officially attached at all,
and they won't be until
the season's over.
Yeah.
There'll be some like you
middle of March.
The only one who would be. I mean, not even though. I was going to say Brad Stevens, but the Celtics season is going to be going on forever.
They're favorites to win the NBA Finals this summer.
So, like, that would be an interesting one because when would he come if they hired him? Like, would he come in the summer?
I mean, a GM's not doing much
at that point.
Because they've already got the team built and the trade deadline's over.
Yeah. That's true.
Um,
It'll be interesting to keep an eye on, but I think that in my mind, and I want to hear your top. I think it's Brad, and then I think it's Dusty May, and then I think, not saying that you contact Dusty May before you contact TJ Otzelberger, because I think you really, really pursue TJ Otzelberger if you can convince him to leave, because he's an incredible coach. He's young, and he's can do really what he would do really well in Indiana. And I just think that wherever they get it, it comes to a point where if they reach Chris Beard on their list, he'll say yeah, and then that'll be where it ends. But I think it ends before that.
yeah. Otzelberger's one that, like, his wife is an Iowa State legend.
Yeah.
Like, Ames, Iowa, not a great place, but
he keeps coming back.
he's a legend there. Like,
he keeps coming back.
He's done great. Bring back Sampson.
Kelvin. Even
Brad Stevens first call, Dusty May second call.
Kelvin
Sampson,
retires because they have in the contract that his son Kellen will take over. He's the head coach in waiting. So then he takes over Houston, and then he comes back to IU to. No, he would just want to beat IU in something. I don't know. It's interesting. We've got other teams to get to. We're almost in an hour, so let's get to our next team. Jaren, lead us into it.
Indiana State. They moved up in Torvik. They are 220 from 229. They went 1-1 this week. They're 12-13 overall, 6-8 in the Valley. They won over Valpo 80-62. And they lost a heartbreaker at Drake 85-81. That was an overtime loss. So with that body of work, we have decided that our Hickory team of the week are the Sycamores. Indiana State definitely deserved it. They handled business against Valpo to win that in-state matchup, especially because, going into the game, they were favorites. They were 4.5-point favorites, I believe. But Valpo kind of controlled the game just to start it off. So it was looking bleak. Maybe not bleak, but it was looking like a tough game. But they ended up handling business by, doing their thing. And then at Drake, they were 18-point dogs. They were down double digits a lot of the game. They ended up rallying at the end and forcing the game to overtime. Had a chance to potentially hit a bucket, but weren't able to get a shot off to win it in regulation. But they went to overtime, and they ended up, losing. But they were 6 of 22 shooting from three, and then being able to play close and you can go to overtime with that shooting percentage is always impressive. And then again, Camp Swagner and Teal were both great this week to help lead the team. So definitely felt that they deserved to be named the Week 14 Hickory Team of the Week.
That's what we like to see. I mean, shout out to the Sycamores. It's, playing Drake is tough, and if you can play them close, we've seen. I think Valpo played them close at one point, and ended up losing by 10 in the end. But a good week for them. Definitely, I feel like there's not a moral victory there, but almost. If you're into moral victories, that's definitely one.
Yeah, for sure. That Drake game was wild though. Like, I kind of stopped watching. I had it up, but was focused on a different game that was going on. I was like, oh, Indiana State's down double digits. They're just, Drake's just gonna roll. And then I looked up and it was tied.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, maybe I should have been locked in on this whole time. But yeah, so definitely, a pretty decent week from the Sycamores.
Yeah, I mean, definitely deserving of Team of the Week for sure.
Yep. Anything else on the Sycamores?
No. IU Indy went down 2 spots from 316 to 318. They're 0-2 this week. They're 8-18 overall and 4-11 in the Horizon League. They lost to Milwaukee 84-80 in overtime, and then kind of got trounced at Wright State 91-73. So not a great week for the Jags, but I mean, not their worst. Not their worst, but Alec Millender had 13 and 6 in the Milwaukee game, and he celebrated 1,000 career points. So there's another milestone for someone in the state, which is really, really cool. It's just like I feel like IU Indy, I think this just is true. IU Indy has had the most 1,000-point scores this season out of any of our other teams because they all just came over with so many like Division 2 points or points from wherever they were playing, and they're all just coming in and they're all just celebrating their 1,000th point, which is cool. I mean, I love that. Scoring 1,000 points is tough, and to have dogs, on your team doing it is good. And then Wright State, I mean, they just got destroyed in the paint. Wright State shot over 60% from the 3 and from the field, so just defensive laps, just cooked them all game. So not a great week, but not their worst week by far. Although last week when they got doubled up, they had a very gigantic win, so kind of balances out. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Law of averages or something.
Yeah, one of those.
Notre Dame, they moved down one spot in Torvik. They're 86 last week. I guess that means last week they were 85. They did go 0-2 this week. They lost at Florida State 67-60. They lost to Virginia Tech 65-63. Both really close games. That Florida State game, they announced earlier in the week, I don't know if it was that day or the day before, that Leonard Hamilton was going to retire at the end of the season.
Yeah, which is crazy. That whole situation.
Yeah, the whole situation is kind of wild. But after they made that announcement, I knew that whoever Florida State played next would lose. And it was just unfortunate that it happened to be Notre Dame. I just felt that the team was going to rally behind Coach Hamilton and pull it off, and that they did.
Which is crazy because if you haven't heard about this story, he's being sued by former players.
Yes.
He's being sued by former players for not paying out NIL. Like, they're not suing the school, they're suing him directly.
Yeah, which is like weird to me. I don't know how NIL works, but I feel like that the coach isn't the one that
I guess they felt that he made a promise.
Pays it out. Yeah, I don't
know, man.
Thing about Notre Dame that gets that turns my head a little bit is kind of how bad their offense has been. Their defense is great, and this is all just based on like metrics, right? They're just not performing well offensively. But I looked back a little bit just to kind of see.
Okay.
And last year they were on a 7-game losing skid and lost 9 of 10 between January 1st and February 7th. Today's February 9th, so similar timelines, right? Because they're on a pretty similar losing kind of situation. But then they turned around and won 6 of their last 10. Their offense in those games looked better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was comparing, obviously their records up to this point, but from the new year on, and then the offensive metrics and defensive metrics, and during that losing skid that they had last year, their offense looked pretty bad. Then they turn around, offense looked good. They have 8 games left, so very similar, right? In terms of quantity of games, all of which, or I guess most of which are pretty winnable games. They're favored in 2 or 3, but then they're like only 3 to 5 point dogs and a few others. So their offense looked better against Virginia Tech from a metric standpoint. If they kind of take that and keep building on it, I feel like they can start turning things around with the remaining 8 games.
They need to get Matt Alaco back, and they need
Yeah.
anyone who's not named Marcus Burton or Tay Davis to step up.
Shrews
needs to hit some shots. I mean, that's what it looks like for me from a not getting analytical about it at all. Just looking at like,
digest.
Hey, these guys are doing well, and everyone else is laying an egg.
Yeah.
Purdue Fort Wayne though had a good week. Like I said, they played Green Bay, so that should be an automatic W. They went up 9 spots in Torvik from 155 to 146, 2-0, 18-8 overall, and 11-4 in the Horizon League. That means they only have 5 games left.
Wow.
I was looking at their schedule earlier. I was like, they have a month. Their last game is, I think, March 1st. They only have 5 games. So they should be rested heading into the Horizon League tournament, which will be nice. But
yeah,
this week, let's focus on this week. They beat Wright State at home, 87-64, and then they followed that up with a 89-74 win over Green Bay. Quickly hit the 15, covered the pushed on the 15 that I bet on them. So that stinks against Green Bay, but continually the guards just continue to be really, really good. Bello was really good in both games, had 22 in the Wright State game and then 25 in the Green Bay game. Jalen Jackson had a giant block in this one. And in the Green Bay game, it was just like a monster block. They got a nice picture of it. Green Bay made it interesting by like not letting PFW hit like any threes to start the game, but then PFW found its groove, and then it was just over from there.
Mm-hmm. The thing that annoys me, and we tweeted about it. Well, I guess you tweeted about it from our account. So I guess that makes it we. The fans are there's just no turnout at the Coliseum when they play, and that makes me sad because I think you even said it in the tweet. We have a Division I team, that's really good, in Fort Wayne, and like no one's going to the games. I think the players deserve it. I think Coach Kaufman, for the things that he's done for himself and the community, and I sound like a broken record because I've said this multiple times, but like I just want more people to go.
Like, what is the difference? Okay, so like Evansville and Southern Indiana, were both good programs at a different level.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're both Division I, but like the Ford Center, very good attendance.
Yeah.
Very, very, very well attended at the Ford Center every game. Like that's why they play there, is because it's a good environment. They bring in a lot of people. There's more people in Fort Wayne. There's only one Division I team here. They are incredibly good. So like they have all the things that should draw in a lot of people, but a lot of people don't go.
And I don't know if it's because you had to pay to park. And I guess a lot of places you do have to.
Right.
Like Ball State, you had to pay to park.
Yeah. So like what's the
I don't know. And it just like it drives me crazy because like the players, because of how fun they are to watch, like they deserve to have fans there cheering them on.
Yeah.
That's why I think like the Gates Center is an ideal place for them to play. Like, yeah, it's smaller. Yeah, kind of.
It feels
not like it's Division I.
Yeah.
But
the environment's just so much better.
When you have a packed Gates Center, it's just more of an electric environment than a super spread out 400 people at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
Maybe the Coliseum, they just need, maybe, is it general admission? Or maybe they just need to make it general admission.
Probably.
Like, don't sell seat numbers, make it general admission, that way people can sit close.
Yeah.
And they've got separate sections for like season ticket holders, like obviously leave those there, but like for the general population,
I agree. Get people as close, because like when people are in the 200 level, why are you up there?
Yeah, get as close. Let people get as close to the game.
Personally, I would just move. Like I would just move closer. If I was up there, but they deserve it. They deserve to have more people there. Yeah. But we're running long, so let's talk about Purdue. They stayed the same in Torvik, still at 9th. They went 2-0 this week, 19-5 overall and 11-2 in the Big Ten. So they won at Iowa 90-81, and then they won at home against USC 90-72. So 2 90-point games.
Here's a question for you. So they beat USC Friday. That made Caleb First the winningest player or winningest class in Purdue history. Does that mean he's the winningest player? That's how that works, right?
Is this his 5th year?
He's a senior, so I assume it's his 4th.
So he was like the class that came in without the COVID year?
I think.
Maybe. I mean, not he might not be.
But how do you?
Depends on how if I redshirt, do I get those wins?
You're on the roster.
So then probably not. Don't you think? Like if someone redshirted and then played 4 years, they have 5 years. I gotta look at them.
But like it's his senior class. If you're a redshirt, you'd still be a redshirt senior and part of the senior class.
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Let's see. Sports Illustrated. Maybe. I mean, probably. Caleb First makes become the winningest player in the history of Purdue basketball.
Yeah. Okay.
111. Yeah.
So that's pretty sick. You can say put that on your. I guess.
Yeah, when he's a doctor or whatever he wants to go do.
Yeah. Not only will I fix your body and make you unsick.
I don't take L's.
Yeah.
He's got a 120 whatever on his wall. Whatever it'll be at the end of the year.
And just to like flashback, at this point, Braden and Lawyer and the rest of the junior class. Don't know who else in it. But I guess Berg maybe.
Dude, I don't know.
I don't know, because they do weird things with their 7-footers. 29 games behind. You gotta get 30 wins next season. Gonna be tough. I mean, probably not, because they're just so dominant. But like,
right,
30
like
games, like we talked about last week.
Looking at who they'll return, there's no reason they couldn't win 30 games.
Yeah. So it'll be that's a fun little narrative to watch. Also, I started randomly seeing like random discourse about Braden leaving Purdue.
Yeah, that was weird.
As like people were up in arms, and it's just like, if he'd
only
leaves,
leave if he went to the NBA.
Yeah, people. And if you think some people are thinking he's going to transfer, he's not transferring.
No,
there's. I'll take that to my grave. And
even if
I'm wrong,
he wasn't,
I'm wrong. But like,
I feel like even if he wasn't as good as he is right now, he still wouldn't leave because of what Matt Painter did for him.
Yeah,
being the only guy, the only high major offer he had, and then like literally, he will never find. Like, there will never be a coach who trusts their point guard probably as much as Paint trusts Braden.
Yeah,
like
gave him the keys to the kingdom as a freshman.
Yeah, and like, what? Yeah, will give him the green light for anything, and that's a relationship that will last his whole life.
Yeah.
Trey Kaufman-Renn didn't make the Karl Malone list or the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar list, which is like, I don't know how. He's literally the 6th most efficient player in college basketball. He's top 6 in the Player of the Year rankings for KenPom, and like the only center above him is Hunter Dickinson, and the only power forwards above him are Cooper Flagg and Janai Broom. So like, how does that not equate to the top 10 of either of those positions?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's weird. People don't know ball.
I saw someone on Twitter, and I can't remember who it was, but after the news, they're like, "Oh, this is going to be the easiest bet of my life." Did you see this? It was just one of the worst beats I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was Trey Kaufman-Renn for 30 points, 30 or more points, 10 or more assists, and then 10 or more rebounds, and then Braden Smith for 10 or more assists. And they boosted it so it was plus 7,500 odds. And so I think they bet $100 on it. I don't know if they did, but it would have been, if you bet $100, that's $7,500. And they were 12 minutes left in the game. He only needed 6 more points. And then he gets stepped on or kicked in the head by Miles Colvin and doesn't come back. That's a bad beat.
Yeah.
That's a bad beat, dude.
Yeah. Anything else on Purdue?
It's first in the Big Ten.
They are first in the Big Ten. Okay, well, Southern Indiana, they moved down 3 spots in Torvik. They are 328. I'll let you all do the math. They went 0-2 this week. They're 9-15 overall and 4-10 in the Ohio Valley Conference. They lost to Little Rock 74-56, and they lost to SEMO 79-74. What do you got about those games?
They disappoint me.
It was very disappointing. Here's a question for you. So we talked about the big 3, right? Someone tweeted something about the big 3.
Yeah.
Then we said Damani Harrison, Jalen Randall, Stephen Olawani. Is there a better 3-man trio in Indiana? The only other 3-man I could think of is Braden Fletcher and TKR. but like I want to see it.
Probably.
I want to see a 3-on-3 of those six. I want to see Randall, Harrison, and Olawani take on PKR.
Well, they're
Fletcher,
lacking a point. Well,
and
here's the thing: is the big three of Purdue is a. I don't know if that's a perfect 3-on-3 team, but you got a 1, a 2, and a 4-5.
Yeah.
This is a 5 and like 2 small forwards.
Yeah.
So I like as athletic as like Olawani is, I think Trey Kaufman-Renn has almost no problems.
Okay.
He's just so good.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, man. Braden Smith's just gonna be dicing him up somehow. He gets to the lane like crazy, and you've always got Fletcher as this 3-point shooting team threat. They don't have the same threats. I was gonna say like if you wanted to change it and be like Braden, PKR first, might be a little bit more interesting. If you take away that like shooting of.
But I mean, Fletcher is if you talk about a big three at Purdue, it'd
be those three.
It'd be those three, right? Yeah.
Right.
I was just thinking about that. I was just like, it'd be kind of fun to watch. It just because it's so polarizing.
Yeah.
It's so different.
Right. These are just three guys that's like just get a bucket.
Yeah.
And then these guys are like, I don't know, like
because the way 3-on-3, it's obviously 3-on-3 is half court. I'm thinking like FIBA 3-on-3, right? So like obviously half. And
I don't know what the meta is for FIBA 3. Like,
I don't
want a point. Do you want two threes and a?
Well, I don't.
You want a Robbie Hummel and you want a Jimmer Fredette. So like,
my understanding is just like you always have at least one shooter, and size is gonna be your best friend because of like rebounds and stuff. So size, obviously, you give the edge to Southern Indiana, but in terms of the Purdue's players, they just don't miss. There's not gonna be a lot of rebounds to get, I guess.
Right, and the skill, obviously.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I think these three could be playing high major ball
for sure.
But right, maybe not top 10 in the country.
Maybe
high major ball.
Walk on a Purdue's roster and
play. That's fair. Also, shout out Coach Sprue. It is his birthday. He is finally legal.
Yeah, he's 21.
Drink a beer.
He's 21. Congrats.
So we weren't able to drink a beer with him when we were in Southern Indiana. One of
the most successful college coaches under 21.
Yeah.
Now it's all over. Now it's downhill. He's one of the regulars.
He is a little bit over the hump. But yeah, just wanted to shout him out because today, Sunday, February 9th, is his birthday. Sorry, your birthday card got lost in the mail. We'll be sure to get to the right folks.
We got Kendrick
to
perform for your birthday.
True.
So,
Valpo
went down quite a bit this week. They went from 233 down to 259. They went 0-2 this week with a loss at Indiana State and a loss at home to Murray State. Both big losses, so that's why they went down so much, especially losing so bad.
Mm-hmm.
At home to Murray State. All Right did set the scoring record for Valpo, freshman scoring record for Valpo at 32 points, which is huge. But I feel like him taking 23 shots is a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like he and Schwieger are kind of in the same situation as Burton and Davis right now. They need some help.
Yeah.
They need Post Malone out here.
I will say, so right, he broke the
Valpo freshman scoring record.
Valpo freshman scoring record, but he's also, his 32 were the most scored by a freshman in the Valley since a player at Bradley scored 34 in 2016. It's also the most by a Valley freshman in league play since an Indiana State player did it, had 37 in 2006. So records all over the place. He's also one of 3 Valley players at all, period, this season with 30 or more. So he's in Good
Good
company.
company.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the phrase. But I just the tough thing when I look at the rest of their schedule too is they're only favored in one more game.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of the games could go either way. You know, they're not anticipated to be blowouts, but really want to see this team, you know, rack up a few more wins before the season's over, going into Arch Madness.
Their last win is Indiana State in overtime, so that stinks. I thought that they were onto something, and then it just kind of fell off, which I didn't see coming. So,
Well, I've got a question for you, Adam.
yes, sir.
It is that time in the show
Mm-hmm.
where you tell us your Jimmy Chitwood Player of the Week. So who you got?
Yeah, this week's Jimmy Chitwood is someone who just brings 100%, 110% effort even every single game. He's a no plays off kind of guy. He's in his 4th season at his school, and he hit 2 huge milestones this week: 1,000 points in his career and 500 rebounds. Same game he got those. That person is obviously Mickey Pearson Jr. from Ball State. He's in his, like I said, 4th season as a Cardinal. He dropped 21 points in their game against Southern Miss, had 5 rebounds and 50% from 3. You said he got banged up, had some ice on, came back in, and just helped their team get a 1-point win in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge. So felt like that was a very good performance and very deserving of Jimmy Chitwood this week.
And I will say I didn't talk about it when we talked about Ball State, but it was a 1-point game. But that's just because Southern Miss, they had a player hit a prayer at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Not quite Anthony Leal fashion.
Hey man, they missed 1 free throw going overtime.
Yeah.
Gotta have everything.
But yeah, shout out Mickey Pearson. Great guy, great kid. Can I call him a kid? Because
We're older.
older.
We're older.
We're not in college anymore. So I feel, to me, not being in college and being removed for as long as I have been, anyone in college or younger is considered a kid. That's kind of the way I see my perspective.
All right.
Okay. What games we got to look out for in Indiana next week?
In-state matchup. Saturday? Sunday? Sunday. In-state match. No, that has to be Saturday, right? Is that real? That time cannot be correct.
8 p.m. on a Sunday?
No way, right? Or are they just wiling out because of no football? You find the time. Sunday, Evansville is at home. Valpo's coming to town, so they're going to be playing. Evansville's going to be playing Valpo. Evansville is 4-point favorites in that game.
It's 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central.
Okay. So they are going to be playing in the Ford Center, and that is on Sunday?
Wait, no. 7 p.m. Sunday. Yeah.
That's
16th.
crazy, dude. What no football does to this to the schedule is crazy.
7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then another one for me, I'm going to point out Purdue going to Michigan. They're 1.5-point dogs. So they've got a tough one there. If they want to continue to hold this lead that they have over Michigan State, they need to win this game because Michigan State is hosting Indiana.
Yeah,
same
and
day.
That's one that I think we both have on our radar because presently Tom Izzo is tied with Bob Knight for all-time Big Ten wins.
Yeah.
And there's just something cathartic about him potentially surpassing Bob Knight by beating Indiana.
Like, do we want him to beat Indiana and pass him?
I don't want him to beat Indiana to pass him. I would like. I'm a Tom Izzo fan.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's coached against Indiana and Purdue, and has a lot of wins against both of those programs.
Right.
I love Tom Izzo. I think he's good for basketball. He has done phenomenal things in Michigan State, and I want him to have that honor.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be against Indiana.
Right. But then, then I think their next game's on the road, so then he'd be have to do it on the road, couldn't celebrate there. If I'm Indiana, if I'm Mike Woodson, I'm getting this team fired up and be like, dude, do it for Bobby. Like, please.
Do it for the general.
So that'll be an interesting one. That game is at 9 p.m. on Tuesday. The Purdue game's at 7. So you got the doubleheader, I would assume, on the same network. Indiana's 11.5-point underdogs in that one.
Another game, Notre Dame. They're playing BC. It's Boston College. They're 4-point favorites. That's on Tuesday. Just really want to see Notre Dame get over the hump. I think that's a very obviously winnable game. They are favored there, but it is on the road. Just need someone to step up that's not named Burton or Davis.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's really
Evansville's got Missouri State. They need to win that one. Bounce back game. Indiana State's got a tough one on the road against Northern Iowa. Are really the only ones I wanted to point out. Purdue Fort Wayne only has 5 games left. I would assume IU-Indy has 5 or 6 left, and they both played 2 this week. So it's really their seasons are really dwindling down.
Let's look at the other 49 and expand our lens a little bit. The Super Bowl's over, by the way.
Yeah. Hey, I won my bet. I took Eagles money line. I don't know how they weren't favored.
Were they not?
No.
Oh.
They were when I took it. They were at. I guess I took it right before it started. They were 1.5-point dogs.
The Chiefs didn't score till the very end of the third quarter, and then
what was the final score?
40 to 22.
My God.
So looking at a lot of weird not weird, I guess, but most of the week was just pretty standard. Teams won, teams lost. Nothing was really exciting until the weekend.
Dude, Friday, I like Friday. Purdue played on Friday. I liked it. And then they followed it up afterwards with St. John's UConn.
I thought St. John's with UConn was that was Friday.
That was Friday night.
Yeah, because I had to turn it off because I was hanging out with my sister and her fiance.
Dude, it was
it
would have been buried a little bit because Florida and Auburn were playing on Saturday, and there were so many games on Saturday, like Duke, Clemson, but this game being on Friday was so perfect. Just a perfect
pretty much
way to start the weekend.
Go into the weekend, and it's just high level basketball.
I
mean, Rick Pitino, phenomenal coach. I've been
best coach in the sport versus the best effing coach in the sport.
Yeah.
Dan Hurley said that, and Rick Pitino was like, "Hang on, I'm gonna walk in your trap, cover your trap type deal." It was a really good game. St. John's was underdogs in that game.
Yeah,
but they ended up winning 68-62, and they were down. They were down 21-8.
I thought UConn was gonna have their way with the Johnnies,
and then they turned on the defense. They started full court pressing. They were just laying into them, and after in the middle of at the end of their last game, St. John's fans were shouting, "We want UConn," and then the UConn burner no escalators tweeted and was like, "You sure about that?" And everyone was just roasting him because he posted the score when it was 21-8 and they ended up losing.
Yeah.
But St. John's won the points off turnover 18-2. Nuts. That press is when Rick Pitino's a defensive mastermind. He's just his team's not even that good offensively, but they're so freaking good, man.
Yeah.
Rick Pitino is just such a good coach.
They're definitely becoming the St. John's of history, they've historically been just that program that everyone kind of has eyes on,
right? That they just have not been for 20 years.
Yeah, and when I say history, I mean history. So it's really good to see. I think it's good for the sport when St. John's is good.
It's better. It's good for the sport when Rick Pitino's good.
Well, he's always good,
except for when he's in Greece.
He won championships in Greece.
Okay, how many NCAA trophies is that? 9. He shouldn't have ever had to go to Greece.
You're right. We won't get into that.
Yeah. Apparently, they used to have wrestling on Fox on that Friday night slot.
It makes sense.
And then it's on another network. So then they just were like, throw basketball there. Love it. Keep them coming. Keep the basketball coming on Friday nights.
Give me basketball. Well, I guess we already have it every day of the week, but I want marquee matchups only. on Fridays and Saturdays. Saturday was fun.
Yep. I didn't watch much of the Florida Auburn game, but Auburn lost at home, and they had a 14. This is where I had 14. They had a 14 game winning streak.
Yeah. We were talking about
so
Akron.
that's over.
Yep. And that made Akron, like I said earlier, the longest active men's basketball win streak.
Yeah, I mean Florida was down 10 and ended up just like flipping it before the first half was over. I think Auburn stays number 1.
I think so.
Do you remember the last time the number 1 team lost and they stayed number 1?
I feel like it was Purdue.
It was Purdue when they lost to Indiana. I think both times then IU swept them. I think both times they lost to Indiana, they still stayed number 1
because the other teams around them, or I guess below them, also lost.
Yeah, I don't know. So like there is evidence that they will do it because number 2 Duke also lost.
And who was number 3?
Alabama was 4.
Tennessee was 3.
Possibly.
I feel like Tennessee also lost.
They lost earlier in the week, didn't they?
Yeah. Like Alabama was the only team below them.
Alabama was
lose.
3. Tennessee was 4.
Okay. But yeah, I just don't think that there's a way that Auburn drops, especially because at the end of the day, like they still have fewer losses than anyone that's below them. There's only their second loss of the season.
Yeah, Tennessee won both of theirs. Yeah, Auburn has only lost 2.
Yeah, Tennessee's lost like 4.
They have the best resume.
Yeah,
regardless of the 2 losses. You could have made a case and said that Duke should be it because they were 2 and they hadn't lost in a while and they hadn't lost in the ACC. But now that that's out, I think that they should stay 1. Sure.
Yeah. The Duke game was absolutely crazy.
And they lost to a top 5 team.
Clemson.
Sorry, Auburn lost to like a top 5, top 10 team. So
yeah, right. Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah. No, Clemson was unranked.
Yes.
And absolutely,
the crowd was rocking.
That crowd was crazy for a couple reasons. One, because Cooper Flagg had the chance to tie it or go ahead at the end,
and because they gave them a sneak peek of Orange Coke coming back.
True. But yeah, Cooper Flagg just not clutch. Doesn't have the clutch gene in his body.
Not anywhere near his body.
Like his brother must have gotten that gene. Yeah, maybe, like, I don't know.
When they were making them, when they were getting made in the lab, it was like shooting everything basketball, and then they're like, clutch gene. Here you go, Ace.
Yeah. We gotta divide the talent a little bit. He just slips on something. He was complaining obviously because he slipped and they didn't but they got wiped down. Like the spot got wiped, but it was just he's also a very sweaty human being.
I feel seen.
Like
I felt that. When he slipped, I was like,
I don't know how he doesn't wear a headband.
I don't know, man.
Like a sweatband because he just was drenched.
Yeah.
Obviously, they were saying it was really hot in that gym. Dickie V came back. It was his first game back on the call. Nothing quite like calling an electric game like that.
Yeah. You got some classics. Are you serious? When Cooper Flagg hit the 3 with like less than a minute left. Cooper Flagg, I mean, unclutch and was doo-doo for like 35 minutes of this game. And then he came alive at the end. But he was like 2 for 12. It was bad. I was like, oh my God. But we said it last week when we were talking about this game that this was their best chance to lose, probably.
Yep.
And Clemson pulled it out.
Yep. Obviously, the court was stormed.
As it should be.
But
Mason Gillis wasn't there to knock some people out.
True. Because he would have.
Yeah. He doesn't mess around during court stormings. A&M beat Missouri in Missouri. Wade Taylor IV had like a really clutch 3 with like no time left almost and won by 3. And then every time I see the name Wade Taylor IV, it just makes me think of Stanley Yelnats the 4th. It makes me think of holes.
Just because there's a 4.
Yeah.
Kansas State beat Kansas. I did not necessarily see that coming because it was pretty wide margin, if I remember correctly. And obviously, Coleman Hawkins was talking mad shit, saying that he's 6-1 against Hunter Dickinson.
It's just funny.
It's just funny because they're both so hated and just throw shade at each other. But
if they're both so hated, you would think that they would be friends.
That's what I was thinking earlier. I was like, they should just band together.
Yeah.
And like
the enemy of my enemy is
my friend. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's always funny.
So just because they seem like they would get along.
They do. A couple fun things that I saw. So Stanford beat North Carolina State, which is like that's not the important thing. I didn't even write the score down. But a Stanford player, Maxim Reynaud, at the end of the game, he like dove for a ball, like went flying out of bounds and bumped into some kid, like knocked a kid down that was sitting there. The handshake line, he just has the kid on his shoulders, and it's some random kid. It's not like a family member. It's just some random kid, and there's just like
funny.
pictures of him. The kid looks terrified, and like I would be too, because Renaud he's 7'1".
Yeah,
the kid's just 9 feet in the air, on his shoulders, just like going through the handshake line. Cool thought, cool thing to see, but just like it's just funny to see the picture of the kids. I'll have to find the picture and show it to you.
Surprised that's allowed.
Also a question I had. I was like, how does that work? And then I don't know if you saw, but Lamar, they beat UT Rio Grande Valley on a wild final possession play. It was a buzzer beater. The Lamar player ran the baseline for the inbounds play, dropped back like a quarterback, and just yeeted that ball, bounced off of the backboard into a Lamar player's hand, who went up for the layup to win the game at the buzzer.
Just like they drew up, I hope.
Probably not, but
maybe.
The dude had a cannon.
Yeah.
I saw it, I was like, oh my. And at first, when I was watching the replay of it, I was like, no way, he just banked it.
You're like,
and then I realized that he missed. And I was like,
that, my friends, is 94 feet.
Yes. Yeah. Like, honestly, further than 94 feet because...
Well, the backboard's in front of the baseline, though. Close.
Yeah, but it's 10 feet up. So you got to think of, like, my physics isn't great, but, like...
Get the parabola.
It was just wild to see that. And then Sunday, Jordan Geronimo got his tooth knocked out.
Bro, you saw that thing fly out on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So that's two Big Ten players this season that have lost front teeth.
At least Barnheiser's
were already
fake.
Yeah.
Jordan Geronimo was gushing blood, dude.
And then another thing, Peacock, they need to either integrate with YouTube TV or no game should ever be played on Peacock, because I want to be able to multicast. This has nothing to do with Sunday games. This is just in general. I want to be able to quad box games that are on Peacock, because Tuesday, right, we were watching games and they were on Peacock, but we couldn't watch other games that were on normal broadcast.
Hear me out.
Same thing happened later in the week.
Hear me out. Peacock is owned by NBC, right?
Yes.
Allow me to connect my Peacock subscription to my YouTube TV. So then
allow me to connect my Peacock subscription to my YouTube TV.
Hey, I pay for part of the YouTube TV.
That's
Peacock,
true. You can't say that out loud, because then we can get
they're gonna get us. So merge them, not merge them, but let you connect them, and then have panels for Peacock 1, Peacock 2, and then let you add them to a multi-view.
Well, and they let you do that. They let you buy a subscription to HBO through YouTube TV. Why can't you do that with Peacock?
They're probably beefing or something.
Maybe you can, and I just don't. I might have to look into that.
But I don't think you can watch it on YouTube TV though. I don't think.
Watch HBO on it.
Yeah, but HBO is an actual channel. A lot of the Peacock broadcasts
NBC is an actual.
Yeah, but
I get it.
I don't know.
I get it, but it's just it's so frustrating because Peacock, they do a great job. Their broadcasts are always really good.
The best 3-point graphic.
Yeah, they've got an incredible 3-point graphic. their studio team is, leaves a lot to be desired sometimes. But their broadcast team, like their actual play-by-play in color, they're good. So I don't know. It's just I wish that. And then today, I was randomly seeing a bunch of Memphis fans just complaining about because they only had one Saturday weekend game this season. They're all on the Sundays.
Really?
Yeah, which I didn't realize until I saw this. But they were complaining because they're like Saturdays or Sundays are inconvenient because we've got jobs on Monday and we've got toddlers.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I don't see how that correlates. I guess if you're traveling, like you're not going to travel across the state or from out of state for a Sunday game, I guess. But from my perspective, Memphis is ranked, right? They're getting pretty much standalone games on national TV on Sundays. Like, I'd be okay with that as a fan.
You know what they need is just to get out of the AAC.
Well, that's what a lot of people were saying. That this has to do with the AAC.
Yeah.
But that was odd. And then it's also further unfortunate news. Northwestern lost their another one of their top 3 players, Jalen Leach, tore his ACL and is out for the rest of the season. So that's now in back-to-back weeks. They've lost 2 of their top 3 players.
Shame that Indiana had to play them before the injuries.
Yeah.
Lost.
Yeah. But that just sucks for their team.
Yeah.
So Martinelli's going to have to...
You never want to see that for people.
Yeah, Martinelli's going to have to pick up the slack.
Apparently, he's going to have to be dropping 40.
Yeah, because, that's a combined 25 points a game, something like that, that they're losing.
Yeah.
And Martinelli's already averaging 17.
That's what I'm saying.
Got to
40.
bump those numbers up. Yeah. Let's
Channel
look
his inner boo-booey.
for real. Let's look at next week.
Yep.
So our Monday game of the day, we've got Baylor at Houston. Houston are 13.5-point favorites. That's at 9 p.m. on the 9th. This is an in-state matchup in Texas, and Houston is always fun to watch. I'm a Houston enjoyer.
Houston enjoyer.
But obviously got Drew, Valpo alum. That'll be on the sideline as well. To potential Indiana
I'm so silly.
future coach candidates. Maybe, probably not, but hey, tune in.
Maybe a candidate. 2 people with ties to the state of Indiana is the way you can put it. Right?
Hey man, I'm not ruling anyone out for the Indiana job.
Tuesday, game of the day. That's the 11th. Florida is 3-point favorites at Mississippi State at 7 p.m. So Florida's coming off that major win at Auburn. So how are they going to follow it up? I don't know. Hopefully they win. I'd like to see Florida continue to win. That makes it more interesting to me.
Wednesday, the 12th, we've got Oklahoma at Missouri. Missouri are 10.5-point favorites. That's at 9 p.m. Missouri's just been a fun story. They're coming off 2 losses. And they need a bounce back game. Last year they sucked. This year they are great. Missouri's coach, his name is escaping me. Yes, Gates is also a name that people have added to the.
I'm not on board with that one, but
I'm not saying I'm on board.
Me. Yeah, no.
I'm just saying. I'm just
sharing my opinion on it.
At this point, anytime we talk about a team where I've heard their coach's name mentioned, I'm just gonna
throw it out there.
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Okay. Thursday the 13th, our game is San Francisco at Gonzaga, -12. Gonzaga's 12-point favorites. That's at 11 p.m. So if you want to stay up late for this one's interesting because they're both fighting for second in the WCC, and San Francisco getting a win could really start to push Gonzaga to the wrong side of the bubble. They're getting closer to the bubble, so like it could get really dicey for Gonzaga if they take 1 or 2 more losses in the WCC, and this is one where it could happen.
Hey, that would just give Mark Few a chance to take the call and start building a roster at Indiana.
Some are saying.
Like I said, Friday, our Valentine's Day game of the week is St. Louis at Loyola Chicago. Loyola are 3-point favorites. That's at 7 p.m. George Mason and VCU have a pretty comfortable lead in the A10, but St. Louis needs to win some extra road games to have a chance to catching up.
Mm-hmm. The 15th Saturday, our game of the day. We're actually going to give you two options here because both of them have implications in their conference for first. So Auburn and Bama are both tied in the SEC, and Arizona and Houston are both tied in the Big 12. So at 4 p.m., I mean, watch them both because they're at different times. You're not conflicted here. At 4 p.m., Auburn goes to Alabama. In-state matchup there. Auburn is about a 1-point favorite at Alabama in Tuscaloosa. And then at 9 p.m., Houston goes to Arizona. So Houston's favored by 3 there, but Arizona has been rolling lately. After a rough start to the season. So got big implications there if both of these teams win their earlier games in the week.
And then Sunday, our February 16th game of the day is Bradley at Drake. Drake are 7-point favorites. That's 2 p.m. Bradley's currently 2 games behind Drake in the MVC, but they got a real chance in this game since Drake has shown some struggles. Again, like barely beating Indiana State in overtime last week. So Drake has shown that weakness that they haven't really shown too many times this season.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be an opportunity for Bradley to pick a game back up.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I mean, I think that would be best for the Missouri Valley is if Drake gets knocked down a little bit and Bradley can kind of open it up for, some other teams like UNI to get up there and really make it interesting for that number 1 seed in the Valley tournament and, who wins. I assume is going to be Drake, but, So those are our games. One each day, like we said, we're kind of switching it up just a little bit. We're not reporting on each day. We're just kind of the game. There's so many Indiana games to watch. Whatever extra games we catch throughout the week that we're really tuned into and think you need to know about, we'll let you know about those on our recap the following week. But Time for guess the game. Jaren I have a lead.
Yes,
I'm 4-9.
I'd probably have a lead if we had half points, but we'll reevaluate that
true.
Scoring metric.
I'm 4-9. Jaren is 3-10, and I think I gave you my clue first last time.
Yes, you did.
So you give me your clue first this time.
Okay. Forgot what my clue was until I just read it. It's always fun because I did it like hours ago.
Yeah.
Usually I do it like right before the show.
Mm-hmm.
But I was proactive this time.
Look at you.
So my game for you. The wording in this is very important.
I would hope they all are. All right, just lay it on me.
The battle over the Blues. Battle over the Blues.
Battle over the Blues? The Blues.
The Blues.
Like BLUE?
Like the color.
See, my mind only goes to the St. Louis Blues, which we probably aren't talking about.
Nope, not a hockey show.
Blue. Blues?
I'll give you an extra hint. Think music.
I know. I don't know if that's going to give it to me. What's even a music-based mascot or school? Jeez. This might just be a straight whiff from me. Battle over the Blues. I don't even have a guess. I don't even have a single guess.
Nothing.
Can't even muster up a single team.
Okay. Well, do you know where the Blues what state the Blues are commonly associated with? The origination.
Louisiana.
Ooh, close. Mississippi.
Nope.
Mississippi is known by many as the home of the blues, where the blues music kind of came.
Not a blues guy.
Expanded from. It is Mississippi State at Ole Miss. The two teams that have beef and want to be the sole team of Mississippi. So that is at 6 p.m. Saturday, February 15th.
right. What just happened?
You just lost. Just
No, I made a new note on accident.
oh,
Like, what just happened? All right, you think you can guess mine this week, Jaren?
no.
All right, we'll see. All right, so can you figure out this basketball game based on the clue? Your clue is tennis ball versus the Board of Education.
What? Tennis ball?
Mm-hmm. Versus the Board of Education.
I don't even have a remote idea. Tennis ball. I mean, I think of like what the Open, which is played in New York. But what does the Board of Education have to do with New York? In this context, I don't. Tennis ball. Initials TB.
Tuberculosis.
That's not basketball either. I have no idea.
N at Brown.
What do either of the tennis ball brand?
Brown versus the Board of Education. Penn at Brown is the tennis ball versus the Board of Education game. That's Saturday, February 15th at 6 p.m.
Never would have gotten that.
Audrey,
I'm a Wilson tennis ball guy.
Audrey said Wilson versus the board. Wilson at Brown was her guess.
So yeah, I'm a Wilson tennis ball guy.
We always had pens in high school for our matches. We were always given pens.
I didn't look at the logo. I just looked at the ball that was handed to me. Actually, they weren't even handed to me. They were handed to you.
Pen. We're using pen ones in this one. Pen twos. Yeah, pens. Funnily enough, high school golf, we were also always given golf balls, and those were always Wilsons. So I was always rocking a Wilson ball during matches. I lost it. I had to go on. Noodle.
Yeah, see, baseball is Wilson. Wilson A1010s. It's the official baseball of Indiana high school baseball.
They're the Wilson evolution of baseball.
Pretty much, actually, yeah. Yeah, because it's really hard to find. They're expensive.
Wilson got a stranglehold on these
high school sports. Or $15 baseball.
One baseball?
Yeah, if you want to buy a single one, yeah. It's like $150 to buy a dozen.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I always steal them.
Yeah, I've never bought a baseball in my life.
Yeah, my dad donated some baseballs to the baseball team a couple of years ago because we were short on quality baseballs.
Mm-hmm.
He bought Baden baseballs.
Yeah.
Because they were still they still met the high school spec. They're just different than a Wilson A1010. So like there's a different kind of leather feel to it. But yeah, it's impossible. You're dropping racks to get good baseballs. It's insane.
That's how they get you, man. They're like, we're the official.
Like I wanted to buy a bucket because I'm an avid bucket sitter when it comes to baseball. They always have lids with a little cushion. Like I'm that type of guy. Like I wanted to have a new bucket because I wanted a new like lid.
Yeah.
You can't buy empty buckets, by the way. Like you probably could.
Couldn't you just buy like a Menards bucket? Are they different?
They don't have lids.
You can buy, huh?
They don't have a cushioned lid.
Oh, not a cushioned lid.
Yeah.
No? Come on.
I'm not lowering my standards.
Come on.
But if you go to like Dick's Sporting Goods,
to
buy a bucket, it comes with baseballs. But not all the baseballs they're like cheap, and like it's like $130 to buy a bucket with baseballs. But they're cheap baseballs, so it's like I will
definitely well below market value. You're never going to use the baseballs.
I will never use those baseballs. So it's just I'm just blowing extra money on baseballs that'll be useless.
Just take the lid.
Just walk out of Dick's. I'm not endorsing burglary on our show.
It's shoplifting. If we want to get into semantics, it's shoplifting.
I don't know the letter of the law.
I mean,
I know the difference between breaking and entering and burglary. That's
definitely the difference between breaking and entering and criminal trespassing. Pretty clear on those ones.
Yeah. And then when you add burglary is with the intent It's breaking and entering with the intent to steal is what it be when it becomes burglary.
So like maybe you go into Dick's Sporting Goods and you like take the lid off to like look at some baseballs, and then you just like
accidentally
forget it's in your hand. Although at Dick's Sporting Goods, you have to like walk out by the checkout. So
yeah, it's really inconvenient because I always feel bad because I have to like walk through the checkout line when
With
I'm not
nothing.
buying anything.
Yeah, I feel the same thing.
Like
I'm
just let me, because they're automatic doors.
yeah,
Don't go in reverse.
They know what they're doing. They're
Yeah.
trying to get you to buy something.
Yeah. Then
Be it Big League Chew at the checkout.
nothing's more satisfying though when someone's walking in.
Yeah.
It's like I'm ready to leave with
And you're
nothing.
like, yes.
I can just like,
Yeah, just sneak out that door.
Yep.
Then the cops come to your house an hour later.
Yeah.
Like, did you steal a bucket lid?
whoops.
Don't check the trunk.
Whoops. Speaking of sneaking out, the clock is showing quadruple zeros, so it's time for us to sneak out of here. Thanks for checking in on the State of Basketball podcast. We will see you next week. And remember, in 49 states,
It's just basketball.